Awesome. So welcome to the Friday, July 28th, 2023 SASO University group call. As always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, requests, go ahead and just comment something or raise your hand so that way I'm not speaking over you and I can hear what you're saying. Um, Otherwise, what we'll do is essentially we're just going to focus on some of the pain points that you guys are explaining or that you guys have specifically. If you want to bring up um, anything that you're really stuck on, this would be the call to do so. I know Michael mentioned he has some questions on SEO. So what I'll do is I'll see what specific questions and I can get like a full breakdown because SEO is going to be a huge component when you're starting with your first client or when you're starting with your first client and when you're first starting with any client. So I've got SEO. Are there any other topics that we want to touch on? Any other points that we're stuck at in terms of landing clients, growing clients, or anything in between? No, just the SEO? Okay. So if you don't mind, Michael, if you want to, yeah, what's up, Naman?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, I guess, I don't know, like, I've been watching your, the stuff in, like, the SASO University. Um, I'm just kinda like, I don't know, I've been taking notes and stuff, but still just trying to understand how, um like, right now, what I'm basically doing is a lot of, like, cold outbound and stuff, and I wanna start doing, like, organic a lot more, but it's just, like, I'm stuck in terms of, like, how to effectively, like, plan everything out.
Okay.
Um, like, I'm in the process of, like, having a VA probably, like, trying to do some of the tasks. Um, but I kinda just wanted, like, I guess, you to talk about it more, like, live in a way where you
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
kinda just, like, make it more understandable.
Yeah. Of course. So, and when you're saying, like moving forward in terms of like the SEO, are you referring to like content that will attract leads to reach out to you versus you reaching out to them?
Exactly, yeah, like, right now, it's just me basically, like, doing a lot of cold outbound, and I
Okay.
just wanna start attracting them, and usually, like, I don't know, people always say, like, paid ads, but
No,
I
no, we
also
don't
just
do
wanna
paid ads.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
And I'll explain why we don't start with paid ads. I'll explain why we
okay,
social explicitly. I'm going to start with Michael's question. Actually, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get start with your question. Then Michael, I'm gonna go into SEO because SEO is gonna be the inbound. If you don't mind, Michael, with SEO, is this kind of like the generic setup? Is this just like a mini SEO tutorial? Is there something specifically with SEO that's frustrating you or slowing you down?
Mainly like I talked to the VA
Mhm.
and I just kind of wanted like some more clarification, but we can go over Naman's question first. Fine.
Okay, so you want me to do his question and come to
Yeah,
yours?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, with the content, when it comes to outbound versus inbound leads, right? So I'm going to go generic to specific. And then if you have questions, just raise your hand, interrupt me on the way. Okay. Um, so the generic outbound is going to convert at an average rate of 1.7%. That's measuring all outbound communication. That's measuring professionals. That's measuring amateurs. That's measuring people who start a business for 2.5 seconds and quit, right? Like, when we're looking at the outbound 1.7, you're most of the time you're looking at the higher performers, because that's usually he's tracking their data, people who know what they're doing, right? But it's usually the higher performers. So 1.7 is tough. That's a low rate. On the other hand, inbound conversion is going to convert at a rate of 14.7%. So we're looking at almost 10 times higher, not quite, but almost 10 times higher, right? 1.7 versus 14.7. And those numbers I talked about in the training, that's from HubSpot. So that's from a CRM that is very widely known, very widely used. And that's not just their data. That's them analyzing market data, right? Now, I want to add an asterisk. Those rates, as I mentioned, are generic. They're across the board. So what does that mean? That means that when it comes to your industry, you have to understand the conversion rate that is going to make sense. And that's why I talk about in step one in the antithetical training, we're looking at 3 to 8%, but it can be as low as 1% sometimes. Why? Well, how many people are buying multi-million dollar private jets versus lawn care companies who are, you just have clients who are looking to pay for cutting grass, right? There's a massive difference. And that means the difference is going to be in terms of interest and purchase power. And here's what I mean. Some people will hop on, just to give you a weird example. Some people just go to a private jet website just to look at private jets with no intention of buying because their wallet couldn't afford it. Right. So the conversion rate has to apply to the industry. If you want an e-com example, go look at Amazon, because Amazon's name is so big. Their conversion rate, their conversion rate on their page, because it's all inbound, right? Their inbound conversion rate for e-com products is like 11 or 12%. And then the average e-com store conversion rate is like 2%, right? So Amazon is crushing it, not because they're providing products differently, but because everybody knows Amazon, the brand, what they do, what they're good at, yada, 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 right? So when it comes to the conversion rate, whether it's the page, whether it's the outreach, whether it's whatever, you have to understand the market and the industry, right? So right now, market in the United States is not doing so great. That's why I'm kind of happy that so many people are coming to me and starting businesses now, because just wait the market to turn around and money to actually start flowing again. How much easier will it be, right? If you're building a business now, you're doing it with such lean, low overhead that it's sustainable in a uh, recession or depression or whatever they don't want to call it, right? That's when, as things start getting greener and better and brighter, you're going to be crushing and you're going to be positioned in a very positive place, whereas other people are going to be playing catch up. So the inbound and outbound conversion rates are big. Now, how do we maximize? How do we start, even before we maximize? How do we start and then maximize the inbound flow? Because that's the idea. The idea is, or the ideal rather, is that you wake up and you have people DMing you and you have a bunch of messages you have to reply to as all people who want to work with you, right? That is the ideal. Hey, John, that is the ideal. You have people who are coming in, they want to work with you. They would rather reach out to you than you reach out to them, right? How do we do that? So number one, we're not going to do cold calling. We're not going to do cold emailing. And I've said this 1,000 times. Does anybody want to answer why we don't do cold calling or cold emailing to start?
No social proof.
There's no social proof. So what essentially, yeah. Okay. So I like that you said that, Nadeem, and I want to elaborate on that. Why people, it's like, he said it's silly. So there's no social proof. So if I cold call or if I cold email you, the only way I'm going to get you to look at my content is if I say, oh, go to my website, go to my socials. On social media, it's already there. They just have to click on it. They don't have to go out of their way. They don't have to get on the app. When you are talking to them on the app, they're already on the app. And Nadeem said something where he said it was silly. I had a conversation with a guy earlier, and this was on a group. It may have been in one of the groups that we're all in, but this guy goes, oh, if you're brand new, you need to cold call and push to a VSL. And I'm like, no, don't cold call. And he's like, well, I've done thousands of calls. I was like, if you've done thousands of calls, that means you've had hundreds of thousands of calls. Uh, and then of those hundreds and thousands, a percentage was then set, right? Because it's setting. They're not closing, they're setting. Then of the hundreds and thousands of calls, you set 1,000 calls, then you look at your conversion rate. How much time does it take to do 100,000 calls or even 10,000 calls? Because even at 10,000 to 1,000, that's 10%. If he's setting 10% of outbound cold calls, that man is a monster and everybody needs to hire him right away and they need to start bidding on him. So I know for a fact if he's done that many calls, of course he hasn't done that many calls. It turns out that he's actually like, well, I've actually closed thousands of dollars on cold calling. Yeah, exactly. Forget about it. If he's actually done uh, thousands of calls, right, we can reverse engineer the typical conversion rate for a call. Well, it turns out he was like, well, I actually closed thousands of dollars. Okay. That's very different because in 2 or 3 calls, I'm going to hit the 5-figure mark very quickly. So that really does. And I'm not saying calls total. I'm saying like calls that I've closed. Right. So that changes everything really quickly. And so then he goes, well, how are you doing it? Well, what I'm doing, and this is what I'm going to tell Naman to do, and this is actually going to trickle into what Michael asked about SEO, is I'm going to make social media content in the form of VSLs. Why do I make the VSL? And Naman, I know that's not exactly your question, but it's going to tie into it. We make the VSLs because the VSL will sell for you. The VSL does not have to be pretty. With AI coming out, with all these video editors and blah, blah, blah. If you have, and I'm going to tell you my honest to God setup. I have an iPhone. I set it up on this camera mount I got off of Amazon. All this thing does is it holds my phone, or I'm trying to put it in here. It holds my phone, or if I push a little button, it will actually track my face as I move around. It was like $30. And then I have a MacBook, or it doesn't matter what laptop you have. Well, it does because I have the iPhone, right? So I have the MacBook with the iPhone. So what I do is when I record a Loom, I use my iPhone camera. So my camera quality is really good, right? It's like 1080 or whatever. So that's why my training videos come out much better than the call recording quality videos, because the call recording I think is like 720, or I think the MacBook camera is limited to 720 or whatever. And you don't have to use the iPhone and the MacBook. You can just have a webcam. You can have a webcam for whatever and film yourself and have it at the top of your computer. Maybe your computer has a great camera, but all I'm using is basically the iPhone and then Loom. I love Descript is phenomenal because it has the audio correction. And so I'm making the VSL. The only post production I'm putting into it is I'm doing audio correction. So in Descript, you can do something called studio sound. That's why my videos sound crisp. It takes me 2 seconds. I click one button, it fixes my audio. That's it. Then, and I'm gonna pull up my page because I want to show you that I'm doing what I'm telling you to do. So this is the page I have for SASO University, right? This is the VSL. I have pinned the VSL for SASO University at the top. Just updated it because before the prices were 25 a month, free to affiliates, bumped it up to 49 a month, free to affiliates, always will be free to affiliates. And I pin it right here. And then it just stays at the top. So when I push people to my page, and Naman, I don't know if you've gotten to that part in the training, it's in the step 1 and step 4 training. We're doing the ultimate downsell, right? When I'm pushing them to the page, they're going to see that pinned at the very top. Now, the rest of the content, so this is the VSL. I'm still providing value because if you watch the VSL, I break down the 7-step process, the 7-step $0 client acquisition system. And that's why I tell all of you, if you remember the best vertical SWAS offer, right? When we're talking about the comprehensive marketing approach, what are we doing? We start with DFY. Why? Because when you're doing it, you can notate your process. And the next training that's coming out next week is going to be how to automate that process. But I'll get to that in a second. You're going to notate your process. Then as you work with more clients, you're going to streamline your process. That's the training that's coming out next week. I will cover on that a little bit today. As you streamline your process, now you have a roadmap, a blueprint. Who here's seen the marketing audit checklist? You can just do like a thumbs up or whatever. Yeah. So you've seen the marketing checklist, right? Guess what that is? That is the example of the process I go through, and I just put it there, right? It's not complicated. So then when I go to the done with you, just like I'm doing for you guys, done with you, I would say, hey, here's all the things we're going to read. If I'm doing the do it yourself, I'm going to say, hey, here's a checklist, have fun with it. Right. So that process, that after I've done so many marketing audits, I give it to you guys. It's already packaged. It's foolproof. I'm still going to work on it and expand it, but it's basically ready to go and hand off, just like any of the social media CRM and financial sheet, just like the marketing audit, just like the forms or make the forms, right? So it's basically packaged together and I give it to you. And so I'm covering that in this training where I'm going through those 7-step figures and then, or the 7-step $0 client acquisition process. And then down here, it's all of the content we talk about. So this is status delta. Who knows what status delta is? If you want to come off mute or type it in the chat, who remembers what status delta is? Basically, I'm making content that shows that I know what I'm talking about, right? So what's the post say? Creating your client's marketing plan. So everybody knows SEO, which we're going to cover, paid and paid listings. Paid makes sense. Paid listings, we know what that is, but for people who are brand new, they may not know. And then retargeting, CLV, and AOV. In the training, I cover that. But if you don't know CLV and AOV, you're going to have to look it up, or you're going to have to be in the training. And I'm not making up random analogies. Client lifetime value, average order value, right? Then we've got the marketing plan, then the funnel for the offer. And in the training, I cover all that. So if you are very resourceful, you can look at the graph, you can work with it. And if you want more help, cool, we've got SASO University. So I scroll down. Here's when I actually posted it. Here is ostracizing or antithetical content. Here is me showing the group, and this is where actually, for those that joined a little later, we're actually going to be announcing the winner of this at the end of the call. Here are the group calls. Group calls are status delta. They're VSLs because I've had people who join because they're like, hey, I'm actually watching all of your videos. Love it. I actually want to be on the calls. Cool. And then status delta. And this is kind of me trying to entice people to see what they want to do to join. Here is me again, antithetical. SWAS beats SAS because this guy had fake people signing up, right? So this is all the stuff, the content we're talking about. Yeah, Naman.
Yeah, but just question. So like right now, um, like I'm just thinking consist. You're like bringing up a lot of Facebook stuff. I was thinking like, so for example, if I posted like short SLs or something on like real on Instagram or something, I essentially want people to like look at those and then come to my page where I could just have like a link in the bio or something. Um,
Yeah,
and drive traffic to that, right?
yeah, perfect. Yeah, so this is why in the training, the step 3 comes before the step 4, because it's going to be, and I haven't looked at your socials. So I'm just speaking from a generic point of view, right? So when I speak with somebody across the board, I'm going to say, you have to create the content first, because if I drive you to a page with 0 content, what's going to happen? You're like, cool, why am I here? So you have to have some content there, and the content has to be PAC, VSL, antithetical claims, ostracize the competition, client testimonials and wins, features you're bringing into your plan, right? We're making that content because that's all the type of content that is going to agitate pain points. It's going to educate them on the new way, and it's going to show you how you're delivering on the new way. That's why we make that style content. The acronyms, just kind of like PAC, VSL, antithetical, ostracizing, those names are just describing on a granular level the type of content that we're making. But we're making that content so that when we drive people to the page will do the selling for you. And so how do we drive people to the page? Number one, when you're brand new, you have to engage and you have to be social. It's social media. This is where it comes into the $0 acquisition system comes into play. This is where we are going to trade spending time for spending money. And so the guy who was complaining, or not complaining, he was actually having a great conversation with me, but he was saying that cold calling was much better than social media. He goes, "Oh, well, you're telling people to jump in and spend money." And I said, "Whoa, hang on there, bucko. Like, no, I'm not. I'm saying use social media." He interpreted that, and most likely because he's been burned before, or at least pitched before something he doesn't agree with, he interpreted that as, "Hey, I've got to hop in and spend money on ads." No, you don't. I don't want you to. And I'm going to explain exactly why I don't want you to, but I don't want you to. What I want you to do with social media, and this is covered in the step 4 training, you're going to go from least direct to most direct. We start with least direct. Just a quick recap, since most of you have seen the training. Least direct is going to be group engagement, and you're just responding to people. And I'll give you an example. If you are friends with people like other business owners, if you follow them or you're friends with them, this actually happened to me. I saw a lead engaging in a group that I was not a member of, but the group was public. So when I saw him engaging in the group, I didn't reply to him. What I did instead was I replied to the main post, and I replied to almost everybody else in that post, just giving them value. And what that does is it retargets him, and he sees that I'm in these groups, and it's actually working pretty well. But we start with least direct, and least direct is going to be your group engagement. More direct is going to be engaging with their page. The most direct is going to be DMing them. We start with least direct because when we start with least direct, there's no limit on how much you can engage. When you're doing least direct, you can comment on 1,000 posts. There's no limit, right? You can reply 1,000 times. There's no limit. You can essentially be as engaging as you want to be when it comes to the group engagement. Then you have more direct where you're engaging on the pages. And again, you can you can comment on as many pages as you want. You're not going to get flagged as spam. The DMs are where you're going to get flagged as spam. And so that's why the training covers how do we find people that we maybe can't DM or we maybe can't attract with group engagement. What we can do is we can engage with their page, then we can send them a message on the page. And when we send them the message, we're talking to them. This is the best part, right? We're talking to them like it's in person. And this is the part where a lot of people are messing up. If you go to, I'll see if I can pull it up on my end. I try to do this every once in a while because I think it's hilarious. Um, if you go to your messages and you just scroll over to the message requests, and then you go to spam, right? Yeah, and I've got one from 3 days ago, and I'll show you this one. This is what it looks like. I wanna show you this, and I'm not, putting this individual down, but I wanna show you this to kind of prove my point. So this guy messages me, and he goes, "Hello, great buyers." There's, like, no personalization, right? "Are you looking for someone to blah, 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 blah?" No, I'm immediately, I'm turned off. Who can tell me why in the chat or out loud? Who can tell me why I'm immediately turned off? Or who can tell me why you would be turned off if you received this message? He sent me a novel. Yeah, it in the words of like my younger brother, I ain't reading all that. All about him, not me. What's the selling? Beautiful. He's selling. He's not bridging the gap. I don't want you to sell a thing. I want you to bridge the gap. And this is something that I don't care if you are running a business or you are coaching a business. If you bridge the gap by providing value, they will ask you how much and how can we get started. And did anybody see on the Facebook group, Imram shared his little testimonial where he was like, "Hey, this is working." He's been super inconsistent all summer. I had a heart to heart with him. He started grinding already after talking to him like 4 days ago. He's already at three, I want to say three new clients, all on trials. Kid's a beast. He just wasn't applying himself. And the reason he was so, uh, I don't want to say struggling, but the reason that he was having hesitancy, and this is the exact same reason why a videographer client of mine had the exact same hesitancy to reach out, is because they were like, I don't want to sell. Perfect. I don't want you to sell. If you sell, if you're like that guy who tried to sell me, it's not going to go anywhere. So here's the best thing that you can do. It's going to answer Nadim's comment where he said it sent you a novel. This is gonna check the box for Michael's comment where he said all about him, not you, and it's going to check Tony's comment where he said selling. Are you ready? You treat the engagement like it's in person. That's it. And if you guys don't want to, that's fine. Does anybody want to do like a quick exercise with me so I can prove my point? No? Okay, that's fine. You guys you don't have to. Essentially, right? If I come up to you, let's say you
I don't get it.
I'll do it, Alex.
okay, cool, cool, cool. Okay, so, if I come up to am I speaking with,
This is Todd. Yeah,
okay, okay, just making sure. Okay, yeah, so Todd, so
would much
let's
rather
say
see that.
We're both here though.
you're good, you're good. So let's say I'm speaking with Todd, right? And, Todd and Rebecca, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys usually work with plumbers, correct?
And HVAC, correct?
And HVAC. Okay, cool. So let's say I want to work with, Todd and Rebecca, right? And I'm in person. Can you guys imagine me going up to them and being like, "Hey, by the way, I'm a business coach. I'm going to work with you. I'm going to take your business from 10,000 a month to 20,000 a month in 3.5 months. And what we're going to do is we're going to use this proprietary method and blah, blah, blah." Is that how an in-person engagement would go? Like Todd, Rebecca, either one of you or both of you, how would you feel if I just came up to you and just started talking like that?
I think I'd be probably pretty turned off right off the bat.
Right. But let's say I come up to you and I go, "Hey, Todd, um, I overheard you. I hope you don't mind. I overheard you talking to Rebecca about you guys work with plumbers and HVAC. Is that right?"
Yes.
Cool. Right there, I didn't send a novel. That's Nadim's thing. Right there, I made it all about them, not me. That's Michael's thing. And here's where I'm going to address Tony's thing. I'm going to ask them about the business. And this is the modified close. So I'm going to, Todd, Rebecca, don't give me real numbers. Just like make up random numbers, right? But okay, cool. Like, so what exactly do you guys do?
We installed brand new air conditioning unit.
Oh, wow. And you own the business?
Yes.
Okay. And how's that going so far?
It's
Really
good.
horrible.
No, it's doing great for summer in Arizona, but it's gonna be slacking off in a couple of months. So we just want to stay busy.
Gotcha. So it's seasonal?
Yeah, kind of. We're in our peak season right now.
Oh, okay, okay. And then you said like it kind of dies off in the winter.
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, not dies off. It's just
He's
not
looking
as
for banter. He's
plentiful.
not looking for
Sure.
real details.
Right, right. Yeah. So like what I'm doing, right, is I'm asking about their current state. And I'm not going into crazy like what's your revenue, what's your profitability. This would be the time to do it where if I'm kind of pushing the conversation there, but I'm just having small talk. Like I'm not gonna ask Todd and Rebecca in the middle of an Applebee's at the bar, like, "Oh, what's your profitability? What's your, blah, blah, blah." It's just a normal conversation. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like Are you happy with where you're at? Are you? It's all second person. It's all you. That's what Michael said, right? It's about him, not you. I have to make it all about them. Now, let's say down the road in the conversation, just as a hypothetical for Todd and Rebecca, they tell me they're at point X, they want to be at point Y, and they're stuck getting to point Y. They've tried A, B, C, D, none of it worked, and they're really frustrated. And I start bridging the gap. How do you think, and if Todd or Rebecca, you can answer the question, or anybody can answer the question, how do you think I'm going to start bridging the gap?
Fix their problems.
Well, you're going
Fix
to start asking questions first.
Yeah, well, so that we do the discovery and then, yeah. So you're right for the starting, but yeah, once we do the discovery and once I know where you are and where you want to be, then I want to fix the problem, right?
Yeah.
So that would be the bridging the gap. And that's where I'm going to say, I want to do exactly what you just told me you need done.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And that's where these guys are messing up on the social media. So, and I know this is a really long-winded answer, Naman, to your original question, but essentially what you're doing when you're doing the outreach is you're just approaching them in person. If you treat it like an in-person interaction, if you are treating it like I'm talking to Todd and Rebecca in person, at no point am I going to come up and just start spewing like a monologue. Like imagine if I just came up and started like reading this whole thing. Imagine if I could pull out a piece of paper like the kid from Up, and he's like, "I am a junior Eagle Scout. Like I am here." Like you're gonna be like, "What the heck does this guy want?" Like if you do anything, it's gonna be, "I'm not interested. Go away." Or you're gonna be like, "Oh yeah, I'll hop on a call that you're never gonna hop on." Right? If I come up and I say, "Where?" Like if I have a normal conversation, right? The personalization. Go look at the outbound marketing challenge. We start with personalization. Hey, I looked at your page. You guys are crushing it. Hey, I'm looking at this. Great job. Hey, I saw your last job. It looks really clean. It's just small talk. There's no pressure to it. No question, no pitch, just a compliment. If they reply, guess what? Now we can have a conversation. If they didn't reply, guess what? You just saved yourself posting this massive message, whether it was personalized or guess what? I guarantee you this individual is so tired personalizing the message, they're just copying and pasting and seeing what works. And that's probably why they ended up in spam. So and Todd and Rebecca, thank you. I appreciate you guys participating. That helps me tremendously.
You bet.
But that's essentially where it goes, right? It's just talk to them in person. And if you are talking to them in person, you're going to, and I'm not saying talk to them in person. I'm saying treat it as if you're talking to them in person. If you're treating it as if you are speaking in person, it's going to remove a lot of the awkwardness. And then this is the kicker, right? Provide value. So let's look at the marketing audit, right? If you're providing the marketing audit as value, does anybody know off the top of their head the call to action in the marketing audit? You can come off mute or type it or put a thumbs down if you're like, what are you even talking about? So the marketing audit, the trial service is the end goal, but Nadeem, do you remember like the call to action that we use to try to push them to sign up with you? So this is the interesting part. The call to action is one sentence out of the 3 to 5 minute video. It goes like this, because I've done probably thousands of these. It goes like this. Hey, send this over to your marketing team. I hope it helps. Honestly, they should have been doing this from the very beginning, but better late than never. Or my team and I could do it for you for less than the price of a single W-2 employee. Either way, best of luck. Just wanted to make this to help you out. What you're doing, right? It's just like in person. It gets really awkward when someone tries to sell you in person and they're like, "Oh, do you want me to do it?" And they just sit there and they're like, you want to work with me?" And it's like, "No, I don't. I don't want you to even touch the gutters. I don't want you to mow the lawn. I don't want you to be my lawyer. I don't want you to do anything. Like, please, please go. Not interested." Right. Um, Beautiful. If you look at Imram's post, and I'm going to pull it up, this is where I love this script. This is where I'm going to pat myself on the back a little bit, which I hate doing, but I'm going to do it anyway. This is where the script is so beautiful. And this is where it kind of shows that I've done this so many times I'm very big on testing, very big on testing. I had to find a way to essentially push this as much as possible and push myself as much as possible because I hate selling. So I want to show you this very quickly. So Nadeem says, what if they specifically say they don't have a marketing team? How can we flip that without making them feel bad? So Imram, I kept bugging him. I kept telling him, follow the script, follow the script, follow the script. He goes, okay, let me try the script. I said, follow the script. When it works, then ask me why it worked. But don't ask me why it works until then, because he was getting nervous about moving forward. Did a great job. Finally did it. He does one, and this is what he gets back. I appreciate the outlook you had on the business. I wouldn't currently have a team in place. Right? Wait for it. This is why we say send it to your marketing team, because it's the assumption they have a team in place. We know they don't have a team in place, but if we're assuming they have a team in place, then they're going to start thinking, do I need a team in place? So look at this. I wouldn't currently have a team in place. I have been doing all the hard work behind the scene of things. He just told Imram here, I'm doing the hard work. And for him, this is hard work, right? And I'm not putting him down by any means. When I closed my first lawn care client, this is what I told him verbatim. I have no idea, and this is a true statement to this day. I have no idea how to start a lawnmower. Zero. But I can make a killer website that will make you a lot of money. And if I do that for you, will you mow my lawn for free? And guess what? He did. He loved it. I loved it because I don't have to go outside and mow lawns. And in the time I saved, I grew my business. And then he doesn't have to spend his time trying to grow his online business, and he can just mow lawns. This is why it works. I don't have a team. I've been doing it all myself. I also have been getting calls about trying to get me ranked. What does that mean? I've been getting other business owners soliciting me, trying to get me ranked. So they're calling saying, hey, I can do this. I can do that. I can do this. In one message, this guy just proved everything that I'm trying to communicate to you guys as a group. When you are marketing your services, provide value. They will ask, right? Look at this. Who asks in this conversation, Nadeem or the client? Who asks to hop on a call? The client. If possible, could we set up a call tomorrow morning? The lead is asking him, can we do a call within 24 hours? Anyone doesn't know, when you get on a call, if you can get on a call within 24 hours, the percentage of closing is going to be much higher. I don't have the stats. That could be complete bullcrap. In my experience, if I get them on a call within 24 hours, it's a done deal. And then look, discuss options to get me on the right track. He is selling himself on Imran's service, because when Imran makes the content, and I was able to see the entire conversation because I was walking him through the conversation, and he was doing a brilliant job of executing it, taking what I was saying and putting it in his own words. He crushed it. But all he did during that call, or during that text conversation, was he just educated. He's like, oh yeah, we need to do this. We need to move from that to that. We need to go from here to there. And yeah, look what Rebecca said. That response is begging to give him services. Yeah, 1000%. And this, Naman, to answer your question, this was outbound. He reached out to him and he said, personalized message. And then he said, where are you? And then he said, this is actually something my team and I do. I'd love to send you over a free marketing audit. Then the guy, ready for this? The guy doesn't respond to the marketing audit. Let me share one more time my screen, because I want to show you guys, especially Naman, because this answers your question. Does anybody want to take a guess what this is right here? Anybody want to take a guess what that is? Link to his Facebook page. He sent the marketing audit. The guy doesn't respond. So and this is what you do. They don't respond. When they start ghosting you, here's what you do. You say this, hey, free stuff on my page, help you scale. Let me know anything you're struggling with, and I'll make some free content on that. The ultimate downsell. And what happens? I clicked on the link. He goes to the page. He realizes Imran knows what he's talking about. He goes back to the marketing audit. He looks at the marketing audit again, but this time he's like, let me focus on what he's saying. And then here it comes. This is the emotional aspect. Look at this. We talk about in the step 5, 10, or the ultimate 10-step closing framework. Why does this work so well? I clicked on the link, blah, blah, blah. I wouldn't currently have a team in place. I've been doing all the hard work. That is frustration. That is how many times do you think that guy's probably pulled out his hair? How many times have you guys pulled out your hair trying to figure this stuff out sometimes, right? Hard work. I also have people getting calls on me. This guy is screaming. This has been frustrating for me. Can you get me on the right track? Have you ever been on the wrong track and happy? No, that's how you know you're on the wrong track. You're unhappy. Things aren't working well, right? So this is an emotional understanding. And in the emotion, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get past the sales part. Because if he got a message like what I showed you guys, what would happen? He would go, I'm not interested. How do I know he would say that? He tells you in the message. People are calling him. People are bugging him. People are telling him, hey, I want to help you. And he's saying, no, 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 no. Somebody take a wild guess as to why he works with Imram over the people messaging him, the people cold calling him, the people bothering him every day, to the point where, check this out, they've been asking to work with him, and he's saying he's so defensive from those forward initiatives, right? He's so defensive from people trying to help him that he would rather do the work himself. And Rebecca answers the question perfectly. Rebecca and Todd didn't feel like he was being sold to. He said, here's value. And Imran did it beautifully. He said, this is the process we go through. And the guy goes, well, why don't we do that? Why don't we go right into ads? And I want to cover that. Why don't we go right into ads? He said, we don't go into ads because we do X, Y, Z. This compounds into that. Then we push into ads. And the guy goes, oh. So the whole time, Imran is telling him, we're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to do this. He's making him visualize working with him. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. We go in this order for this reason. My process works because I've done it before. My process works because I've seen other people do it and crush it. My process works because I've done it with the auto body client, and it's the exact same thing. Business is business. Blah blah blah. He's saying I am the expert. I have a process, and my process works because of that. And once he's doing that, the guy goes, "Cool, send me over these things." Imran doesn't get an answer. He messages me, "Hey, what do?" I go, "Hey, send him the link to your page." And end it off on that note. That is my favorite. That's why it's the ultimate downsell. Hey, yeah, he's not really replying. Hey, I got more stuff on the page. Let me know if you need anything. I'll make content on it. Peace. Yeah, Naman, what's up?
Yeah, I just sorry, I don't know if I just kind of difficult to understand that. So like, how did he initially start that off again?
So from what I understand, and he could clarify, he had a warm lead come in and a cold lead come in. So whether this is the cold lead or not, he closed both of them. With the cold lead, he just reaches out and drops a personalization. So example, you and I, like, if you want, Naman, we can do an exercise right now. You are selling to me. You're working primarily real estate mortgage brokers. Is that right?
Yeah, with realtors. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm a realtor. I don't know much about it, so bear with me if I say something really stupid. You know I'm a realtor, but we don't have a meeting set up. You're just approaching me. I don't know, supermarket, restaurant, sidewalk, dog park, whatever. Right? How are you going to come up to me and introduce yourself?
Do you want me to actually say my like whole script? I guess like along the lines, like, I'll just like essentially I'm offering a free trial of our services for 10 days.
Mhm.
And essentially what we do is just book appointments in your calendar and basically giving you a test drive of our system. Although we ask is for you to cover ad spend and basically take our system for a test drive.
Okay. And I appreciate you saying that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick on you a little bit because I want you to improve. Okay. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Perfect. Does anybody know where he messed up?
$30 per day part.
So yeah, look at what Rebecca said. If you are if you're having a conversation, right? And you know I'm a realtor. I maybe don't know what you do. You have to use the emotional. What you're doing, right, is what Nadeem said. You're selling. What is the difference? When you are selling, I'm gonna put it very, very simply. When you are selling, what you're doing is you're saying, hey, logically, what I do works really well, and you would be stupid not to work with me. And let me tell you something, you're 100% right, because what you just explained to me is a steal. You are taking all the risk. I'm not taking any risk, right? That's a great offer. But where's the emotional connection? Do you know what I need yet? Do I trust you yet? Do I value what you are telling me yet? Right? And the answer is going to be no. So let's flip the script. You be a realtor. And Rebecca said, cute dog, I love corgis, something personal, right? So let's say we're at a dog park and I'm talking to you And I go, oh, well, like for me, I have 3 dachshunds, right? And what you're going to see is I will unintentionally sell to you guys without realizing it because it's so natural to what I'm doing in terms of it's just building a connection. So Rebecca says corgis. I immediately go, hey, I have 3 dachshunds. They have the stupidest names. And everything I'm telling you is true, by the way. They have the stupidest names. They're Frank, Bean, and Toast because we wanted to name them after food. So they're Frank, Bean, and Toast. None of them look like what they are, except for Frank is a weenie dog. So he kind of looks like a hot dog. But I have 3 dogs. I'm going to talk about my dogs and they'll be like, okay, cool. You just moved to the area. Yeah, I just moved here. I was in this part of the country. I moved to this part of the country. I moved here because the business is doing super well. We just had a daughter, a baby girl. We're moving here to be near the in-laws who are helping us take care of the daughter. And we wanted her to grow up around a family, right? I've not mentioned a thing about business. I'm just having a conversation. And this is what we talked about on one of the other calls. This is hostage negotiation 101. Hostage negotiation 101 is I want you to know things about me because it's going to be that much harder to uh, hurt me, or in this case, hurt my offer, kill me or kill my offer, right? That's kind of what we're looking at doing. And so I'm building the connection and then I'm going to go, what do you do? That's a very normal conversation in the United States. Hey, what do you do? US, Canada. I don't know too much about the Canadian culture, but I know in US, if I say, oh, what do you do? That's a very normal conversation. And they're going to go, oh, I'm a realtor. We go, oh, okay. How's the market down here? How's the market down here? Do you sell for a company? Do you sell for yourself? Okay. Oh, you own your own company. Oh, wow. How's that going? Right. What's the website? I'd love to let me check you out. I may know some people who want to buy a home. Oh, by the way, I actually work with a marketing company. I work with SASO Funnels. I actually own that business. I would love to give you like a free marketing audit and what you can do, right? You hand it off to your team. They can apply everything. It'll help you make a ton of money. Worst case, you don't have a team, I could always do it for you, but let me just send it over to you. So I'm dropping in that call to action, but I just blast past it, right? And so when I'm moving past it, I'm basically just disarming the sale. And does that make sense so far?
Yes, that makes sense.
Okay.
I just have a question.
Wait, so give me 1 second and then I'll take it. And I don't want to be crass, but I'm going to be a little crass. It's this is going to be a little inappropriate. We're all adults, but it's the difference between somebody sending unsolicited nude images and solicited nude images. And I hate that it's that crass, but it's that different. It's really that different. If you just start sending inappropriate pictures unsolicited, whether or not you're the most attractive man ever or most attractive woman ever, people are going to be like, oh, what the heck? Like, I don't want to see that crap. Block, like, get out of here. You're disgusting. Right. Or, your spam or whatever. Right. The minute somebody says, hey, send them on over, you're going to be doing what you got to do to close that deal. Right. Again, it's a very crass example, but it's to show you the unsolicited versus solicited makes a massive difference. That is what makes a massive difference. Sometimes you're going to close quickly. Sometimes you've got a date and you're maybe super religious or conservative and you're not doing anything until the wedding night, right? Either way, it depends on how you operate and how they operate. But if you try to do something unsolicited or too forward at the wrong time, or you don't close at the right time, you're going to miss the sale. So again, apologize for the kind of crass example, but that's the best way for most people, especially the guys, to picture it. It's going to be understanding the timing. And so you have to build the emotional connection. And now watch this. If Naman and I are talking and he's the realtor and I'm Naman trying to sell to the realtor, right? Now, once I have a connection and he doesn't buy from me, when he does need a marketer, who do you think he's going to come to first? He's going to come to the person who educated him, who provided value, who said things that made sense. Why? Because I've already established myself as an authority. That is exactly why. And human beings are lazy. They're going to go to what they know works. Yeah, Rebecca and Todd.
I look at it kind of like a dance. I mean, you have to ask someone to dance and you can't just go up and say, we're dancing now. You don't just grab somebody and say we're dancing. You have to come up and say, hey, would you like to dance? And then once they give you that opportunity to dance, then you can lead them down wherever you want. But it's kind of the same thing. What you're saying is, the last thing I want to talk about is I want to know about what their business is like and what's going on. So I can I'm already working in my mind how I can bring it to them, but I've got to have them to go off of. I mean, it's like a handshake too. I mean, if someone comes up and just grips your hands really strongly, you grip your hand really strongly. If someone kind of gives you a half, you kind of meet them at their level. So, it's, I think what you said was right on. And you have to people are automatically cynical, or they always have a wall up right off the bat. So what you just kind of break that down and they go, oh, okay. I think that people start out with saying with us, I mean, especially like, oh, yeah, what are you trying to sell me? To end it with, I like to just let them know who we are so that they do trust us. You know what I mean? I mean, if you have options, no different than selling cars or something like that. I mean, you have to trust that person. They're getting ready to take their money and give it to you with, a hope and a prayer on some, and I mean, just your words. So they have to
Yeah.
be able to trust you.
Yeah. And not only are they giving you their money, but they're giving their money to somebody who they potentially just met within 24 hours. Right. And that's where it's like you really have to get through the cycle of breaking the barrier. I love that you said that. And this may not apply to everybody, but I know we have people in here who are working with blue collar individuals like Rebecca and Todd are, and they're very skeptical. They really don't want to be sold, and they only want to work with people who are almost identical to them. They love working with like if you want to crush it in that industry, your avatar has to relate to them or someone within their family, the spouse, the kids, someone in their family. It has to be somewhat relative, or you have to do what I did, which is essentially say, I know nothing about this, but I'm really good at that. And you have to, regardless, especially with blue collar. And I know Todd and Rebecca know this, but just to reiterate, especially with blue collar individuals, they are and I'm not saying this in a negative way, they take great pride in what they do. And they don't get enough credit for what they do. Anybody who I know Todd and Rebecca work with blue collar. I know Michael does. eh, Is what I'm saying pretty on par. These guys do a hard job and they don't get enough recognition for what they do. Is that pretty fair to say? Yeah. You have to meet them on their level. Yeah, genuine conversation. They're tough guys, right?
We agree. Yeah. I mean, and the business owners, most of the guys that we deal with, were in the trades for 20 years to get there.
Yes.
So they've seen it all, heard it all, the next best thing. They were around before the internet was around, a lot of these guys. So, it's all poppycock, that kind of stuff. Yeah. So you've got to make it, and you have to be genuine. Don't just act genuine.
Yeah.
Be genuine. And I love the downsell too. And I love that saying, hey, and I've had to do that on several people just, that have, they've expressed concern, they're expressed some interest, and you work them and you're trying to figure out the details, and then they just drop and you say, hey, in the future, anything else comes on. I mean, we don't want to push this on anybody. The worst thing you want is to sign somebody up who's not happy in the beginning, and then
Yeah.
they're going to be a problem for you, and you're going to end up losing them no matter what you do. So you
Yeah.
want to make sure that it's good in the beginning. So when it does hit and everything works for them, that they can say, yeah, he's a good guy. And that's those testimonials that you can get going to other people.
Oh yeah. Yeah. 100%. If you force it, it's never going to go your way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Naman, what was your question?
Yeah, no, I'm really loving this. It's like a lot of stuff I can kind of like learn from, and uh, thanks for that. I was kind of understanding like, or kind of wanting to understand more from that point where you're talking about like building a relationship. Like for me, if I'm like dealing with realtors, um, many times I'm like calling them when they're like in different parts of like I'm meaning Canada. So essentially when they're when I'm reaching out to them and stuff, like there's not a whole lot I really know about them. Or like how would you say like I can really just focus on building that connection or relationship?
Yeah. So the first thing, like Todd said, is you do have to be genuine. The second thing, regardless of how much or how little you know, I want you to own that. Example, and I keep referencing this guy because it was the first client. Example, when I worked with, and I use this line all the time when I work with people who I don't understand. I say, I have no idea how to do what you do. I recognize what you do takes an immense amount of skill and knowledge that I am not built to handle, but here's what I do really well. So you don't have to know 1,000% the ins and outs of realty. What you do need to know is you need to understand how they get clients, because that is essentially where you're coming in. Because if I am going to you and you are a marketing agency or a growth consultant or a business consultant that specializes in real estate, then you had better know how are you going to get leads for a real estate company. If you are running your own real estate company, if you are handling the marketing for your own company, you should be swinging and hitting them out the park. So the question becomes, and this is the training I just dropped, how do we look at the lens of the marketing plan through the industry? And to summarize the training in just a few sentences, it goes like this. When you're talking to them, how are you currently getting clients? Here's how other realtors are getting clients. Those are the two lenses in which we're going to look at SEO, paid ads, directory listings, retargeting, how we're going to look at increasing your average order value. Why? Why are we looking at through the lens of what they're currently doing and what the market does? Because if they're currently doing it, then it's working. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Why would I fix it if it's already working? How can we instead further examine and increase the inputs into what is working to increase the outputs, which are clients? Number one. Number two, what is the market doing? What is the industry doing? I know with realtors, they're going to get a lot of leads when their house is listed on Zillow, realtor.com, all these directory listings for homes. And when somebody clicks message the realtor on it or book a session or viewing or whatever, I know that the realtor is going to get a notification. I also know that the realtor is going to get notifications at all times of day. So I want to have an automated message saying, hey, blah, blah, blah. And then it has a chat flow where it's pushing them to essentially, hey, I'm going to call you at this time tomorrow. I'm going to do this or that. Or, hey, here, let's book a call and we'll discuss how we can get you viewings. I want some kind of a workflow that's going to handle that. And so right there, I've explained how I can relate and how I'm authority. And I don't work with realtors at all. How did I do that? I said, cool, if you're doing this, let's keep doing it, but let's do it better. Let's do it more polished. Let's do it more systemized. This is how I know realtors are getting leads. So we need a marketing plan focused on getting you the listings listed, and we need your communication handled. Now, here's a pain point. I know that you're getting notifications all hours of the day, and you may lose a lead if you don't respond in time. So why don't we automate that process using XYZ, all things that my company and I do? And so right there, I've established myself, and I know nothing about being a realtor, or I know nothing about working with them, but right there, I've established myself as an authority because they go, oh yeah, if it's working, it does make sense. Why would I scrap it? Imagine if I said the opposite. Oh, that's working. Get rid of it. They'd be like, okay, red flag. Imagine if I said, hey, other realtors are doing this, but we're not going to do that. Red flag. Imagine if I said, hey, I know you struggle with homes that have dogs. No, I don't. That has nothing to do with it, right? Red flag. Instead, what are you doing? What is the industry doing? And pain points you're going through. And right there, I've resonated with them because everything I'm saying not only makes sense, right? Hey, I know you're doing this. Let's keep doing it. That makes sense. I know you're getting leads here. Let's keep doing it. Let's make it better. That makes sense. And here comes the value. Hey, what if when they message you, we could automate that whole process, make your life much, much easier, integrate that into your CRM, and even automate the communication between the buyer and the seller? Oh, we can do that? I can. And if you don't, and here's a great line. And if you don't want to go with me, that's fine. Here's what you need to do when you look for a marketing professional. Make sure they're doing A, make sure they're doing B, make sure they're doing C, make sure they're not doing X, not doing Y, and not doing Z, because that's just a waste of money and time. I just said, hey, make sure you do this and that if you go with somebody else. All things that you should be doing, right? Make sure you're not jumping into paid ads. You start here and you transition here. Oh, why? Oh, this is why. Oh, okay. And I'm educating them. And then what are they going to assume? They're going to assume that if I'm telling them to do A, B, C and not do X, Y, Z, that I also fit that bill. And humans are lazy. Why is he going to go out and start hunting again? Why is she going to go out and start hunting again? You've just educated. You just checked every box you could. And so when it comes to the personalized messages, you really have to view this um, as a long game. And when I say long-term game, I'm not saying, hey, this is you need to know them and your kids need to grow up with their kids and you need to make sure that your daughter marries their son and you need to be at the wedding. And then at the reception, you're going to pick. No, it's not that long a game. The way it works is you go through checkpoints. You have to have the emotional connection. Then you have to provide the education that makes sense. Then you provide the value that makes sense based off of the education. And when they push back, you educate. You don't handle objections. You don't push a thing. You educate. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. And the way that you're gonna educate, and Imran crushed this. The guy was like, why don't we do this? And he was like, well, we're gonna start here and then we go here. When you take control of how the process is done, you establish authority. Like, watch this. And I think you were asking me, am I like, do we jump into paid ads? Ask me right now. Hey, I'm a realtor. I want to jump into paid ads.
Sorry, I ask you.
Yeah, yeah. Ask me like you're the realtor. I'm you. Say, hey, we want to jump into paid ads.
Hey, we want to jump into paid ads.
Okay, paid ads are a great avenue. What I want to do is I want to first examine what we're doing organically, and then I'm going to look at the directory listings because what's going to happen, right, is when we get the organic down on social, Google, Bing, even doesn't matter. Once you get the organic down, when we start to run ads, your ads are going to perform so much higher because your socials are in place and they have a good reputation. Not to mention ads, it's like a water faucet. I can cut them on, cut them off. The only problem is to cut them on, I have to put money in. SEO is like a waterfall. It's going to flow and flow and flow. It might be a little waterfall, but no matter what, that water will flow. It will never stop. I don't have to put money in it. So that's why we go SEO, then we go to the paid avenue. So if you have all the SEO in place, perfect. We'll jump right into the ads. But let's make sure we have these things put in place first. Does that make sense? And so
Yeah,
what I've done is I've educated you on the why. I've reinforced my process. And I'm not saying we do it this way because we do it this way. I'm saying we do it this way because this makes sense. And this is why it makes sense. And here's some things about the algorithm that you guys maybe didn't know. A Facebook pixel is going to perform better if the page it's associated with is performing better. If it has more followers, guess what? The pixel says, hey, we already have an idea of who to market to. So that's why the socials and the SEO comes into play first. And I want to cover the SEO a little bit for Michael. But does that answer your question, Naman?
yeah. Well, I guess my business kind of focuses more on the getting paid ads and before like we influence some organic stuff as well. But the thing is
Yeah.
because like the whole point is we want to get people, like a lot of realtors spend a lot of money on like Zillow or like Trulia or like realtor.com. And the thing
Right.
is those are really expensive for realtors. Like they're pumping in a lot of money. And if, for example, a lead comes in on these like websites,
Mhm.
and they're just essentially looking, right? It notifies the agent, and the whole thing is like it's a waste of time for the agent because then they'll call these leads coming through these different websites, and essentially these leads are saying that they're just garbage leads essentially. So
Yeah.
what we have is like through paid ads, we're just generating people who opt in, and then we have like a text concierge that would have a back and forth conversation to start qualifying the lead, before we would book that with book an appointment with a realtor or anything. So it's essentially like that's why when we were having our when I was kind of pitching you the thing, that's why I was like kind of
Yeah.
getting along the lines of
Yeah, yeah. Let me interrupt you real quick. What you just did was you just educated me on why you do what you do. Do you see how that was way more like right there? I would buy into what you just said versus when we did the first exercise and you were approaching me at the dog park, right? Pretend. That right there sold me 1,000 times more than you saying, hey, here's what we do.
yeah, and that's the problem I'm having.
More.
That's the problem I'm having of how to communicate that efficiently when I pick up the phone or call
You just
someone.
did.
I know, but it's like, how do I kind of get that when somebody like is like let's say they're cold and it's
Okay.
like they already
Right.
want to hang up the
So,
phone,
so two things. I'm going to answer your question right after I say this. The reason I love starting organic is because organic is a long game. It's a very long game. You can get them the website, the SEO, and whether they pay ads or not, they're going to keep the website in the SEO. So you can say, hey, this is all, free trial. We can do the website and the ads can be a free trial. The website, the SEO and all that, that's going to come in at, 500, 1,000, 2,000 a month. And we're going to link that to the IDX. We're going to have an IDX integration because we're going to do it all in WordPress and we're going to host it all in High Level. And then in High Level, we have full access. I do and you do, right? And so right there, that they're never going to leave the website. They're going to need that for a long time. That is a much longer CLV. That's a much longer client lifetime value versus just the ads. Because if the ads don't do well, they're going to dip after 30 days, after 40 days. It doesn't matter. If the ads stop performing well, they're out. But if you are doing the organic and the website and the CRM, things that are pivotal, integral to their business, they are going to stay with you much longer and it's going to be much more painful for them to leave. Then, and I'm not saying go into SEO first, I'm saying the ads can be the icing on the cake. And so when you're talking to these people, how do you position it that way? You look at the training that you would really like would be the Triangle Ascension offer, where you're basically identifying where they are in terms relative to the golden standard of their industry. And then you're essentially saying, cool, based off of where you are, here's what's going to cost and here's the marketing plan that we're going to take. So if they're a brand new person, they need the website, they need the SEO, they need all that. If they're somebody who's intermediate or advanced, hey, cool, let me just make sure these things are great, perfect, they're in perfect condition. Let's go into ads. And then when you're doing the ads, you're explaining, hey, I'm not pushing the leads to you. No. I'm pushing your leads to my team. My team is going to make sure we're doing this and we're going to save you time. We're going to set up meetings with you. So that way, like we're going to be your realty virtual assistant, virtual setters, virtual closers, and we're going to hand off hot leads, not cold, not lukewarm, not warm-ish, hot leads over to you that are qualified. That right there, what you just told me the second time that you explained what you did and clarified, that sold me 1,000,000 times more because you educated me. And so for me as a realtor, hearing you educate, that's where I'm going to go, oh, so let's say this goes well. How much is it after that? That's the kind of like what you just said is you said it beautifully because you're educating. You're educating on the process. And you just made problem agitating content. You said, we don't do this because XYZ happens. Instead, here's what we do. That's problem agitating content, right? You agitate the problem the old way, like caveman talk, old way bad, new way good, right? That's exactly what you just did. And the beauty of the way that this whole process works is that I'm not teaching a single one of you anything you don't already know. We're just rearranging the way we're doing it. We're just being intentional with how we're doing it. And we're just structuring it in a way that closes for you because all of you know your industries. All of you know the education, the value, and all of you get stuck trying to sell. I get stuck trying to sell. I'm not going to push a product that doesn't do well that people don't want. So long story short, and then I'll answer Michael's question. Naman, you are making problem agitating content unintentionally. Now just make it intentional.
Mhm.
You clearly know what you're talking about. And before you concern me when you're like, oh, we do this for this and free leads. I'm like, it kind of sounds a little redundant. It sounds kind of recycled. But then you went, we don't do that because it's a waste of time. We hate weak leads. They see it on there. All of that just told me that you know what you're talking about. Therefore, when you're telling me that the old way is bad, I care and I listen. And when you tell me there's a new way, my ears perk up. Dude, you have it already. What you just said right there was perfectly constructed. So actualize that, intentionalize that aspect. And when you're making your social media content, if I'm you, I'm making that my first problem agitating content because it was so well said. And what Rebecca said, social content is huge for realtors too. A quick check on their socials before the call will tell you what they need for presence. 100%. I had a realtor try to sell our home. 30 days, no offer. Went on social media. We found somebody that had a phenomenal social media presence. Surprise, surprise. She was making problem agitating content and showing client wins. We fired our old realtor, hired her, sold our home within 36 hours. So social is massive. And I'm going to cover a cool little social trick, but hopefully that helps, Naman. If you have more questions, we'll take it offline. But what you just said there was brilliant. And I'm not saying that to be nice. Yeah, Rebecca and Todd, and then I'll go to Michael.
Yeah, I don't know, and I don't know everybody's level of high level here had they really played with it, but the prospecting I use that a lot. Even before I talk to somebody, I'll run their name of their company through the prospecting um, part of GHL, and it'll tell you where they're located, how many reviews that they found online. It gives them kind of a score, uh, uh, and you can turn that into a sub account. But I think the more information you find out about them beforehand, you can speak from a, like you said, speak from a place of knowledge or of authority, where you can say, yeah, I noticed you weren't on Yelp. So that, when you're talking to your close, you can say, hey, you weren't on Yelp, you weren't on this. You did have this many good reviews. You did have a couple bad reviews. We can work on those. I mean, the more you know about them, the more genuine you really are about them. I think the better that.
They're more likely to listen to what you have to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And if you watch the marketing audit training, it's like a 2-minute video, but on that document, Naman, look at that document. It's got a whole checklist of things before you do the marketing audit. I want you to, when you download that or when you make a copy of that into your own Google Drive, what I want you to do is I want you to add and or edit and or remove and make it your own doc that's all tailored to what you need to look for when it comes to the client, the prospect, and make that document your own. Any document I give you guys, make it your own. But the whole point of that document is so that when you do the marketing audit, number one, you already know what you're going to say. And number two, you are going to sound just like Todd and Rebecca said, you're going to come off as an authoritative figure because you're going to hit so many points within a 3-minute video. How are you going to do it that quickly? Watch the training. You're going to have all your tabs open. You're going to have the checklist, which you don't have to share, but you're going to go through the checklist and you do like this little prep before you send the audit over. And so, Naman, for you, if you're really trying to get your feet wet with that aspect, the problem educating content, it flowed off your tongue beautifully. That's number one. Number two, go look at the outbound marketing challenge where you're doing the 4 messages pushing to an audit, and then look at the audit, make it your own. And that's what you cover in the Loom video. But you have it. It's just a matter of reorganizing it and doing it in a way where it's going to actually convert. And so that being said, I want to pivot into Michael's initial question with the SEO. So with the SEO, I have some training coming on this. I'm not going to go too in depth on the training because it is more of a technical aspect or component. But the way that the SEO boils down is essentially going to be this. You need to have the main keyword when it comes to the website. The main keyword is going to be location plus service or service plus location. The order doesn't matter. I personally like doing service plus location. So I'm going to do tattoo artists in, San Francisco. I'm going to do plumbers in Jacksonville. I'm going to do service in location. That's your H1. Your H2s are going to be subcategories. So about us, it's going to be maybe the neighborhoods we service. So this is a big one on the homepage. If it's a single town location, right? And I'm not talking like multiple, you can have multiple towns within a proximity, but if it's a single location, close in proximity, you can have at the bottom, you can say neighborhoods we service, and you can list out every neighborhood we service. So let's say I said, what I said, Jacksonville last. Let's say Jacksonville. I'm going to share my screen, Florida neighborhoods. I'm going to show you exactly how to do this at the bottom of your homepage. You're going to say neighborhoods we service, and then you are going to come over here and you're going to put every one of these that apply at the bottom. Every single one of these. Because it's telling Google that, hey, we are in this location and these are all the locations we service. Now, if we look at Jacksonville, let me see. If we're looking at Jacksonville, right? There are other towns. So these are neighborhoods, but there's also some towns that are very close. And so I'm not trying to rank for every single town. I'm ranking for one specific area in a bigger city. So I want to specifically notate which areas, which neighborhoods that I'm operating in. And if I'm trying to do as many as possible, then you've got to list as many as possible. Now, once we start trickling into multiple locations, you need to have location pages. I don't mean multiple neighborhoods. I mean, you have neighborhoods within a city. Once you start touching multiple cities, you need a service or a location page for each city. The location page looks identical to the homepage, but all of a sudden we've changed the location in the titles, right? The service is still the same. We've changed the location in the titles, and we've changed the neighborhoods at the bottom of the page because the neighborhoods are going to be different because it's a different city. So that handles location. Now, on those location pages, we're going to link to services we do. The services page is not going to be localized. The service page, whether it's Jacksonville or like smaller town outside of Jacksonville, they're all going to link to the exact same service page. The service page is just going to be, let's say we do plumbers, right? I always pick something I know nothing about. Let's say we do plumbers, right? It'd be plumbers. Plumbing services could be like tankless water repair, tankless water heater. Oh God, I probably sound awful to Todd and Rebecca and Michael right now, but I'm basically going to have the services, but they're not going to have location. Okay. The location is going to be on the home page and the location pages. The service pages are going to be standard service pages that we're going to link. At the bottom of the service page, we're going to say we work in this city and that city. And guess what? Those are going to be internal hyperlinks that when you click them, it goes to the location page. Now on Google Business, we're going to have products listed. The products are actually going to be the services. Those services are going to have URLs that link to the service pages on the website. You're going to have service areas. If you can link those to the service pages, you're going to link them to the service pages. You're going to link, you're going to have reviews. High Level does a good job of this. If I click on all the reviews, it's going to take me to the GMB. And I'm going to have everything intertwined. It's called the web for a reason. Everything's going to be intertwined. And that's going to tell Google, hey, we have a really organized business. Here's what we do. Here are the locations we service. Here are the services we provide. Here's how to contact us. Our name, address, phone number is going to be the exact same on every single page. And it's going to match Google Business. And it's going to match Angie's List and wherever else they're on in terms of directory. And it's going to link to the socials. When you click on the socials, it's going to take you to the page. On the social page, guess what you're going to have? You're going to have a link to the website. And so you're having this full intertwined web presence of the homepage, location pages with neighborhoods, service pages with what they're doing. And at the bottom of the service pages, so if I click on tankless water repair, at the bottom of the page, you're going to have the other services you do. And they're going to be able to click on the other services that you do. And it's all going to be intertwined as much as possible. And that is essentially the entire idea of the SEO. SEO is saying search engine optimization. We want this search intent to be, I want to hire the client. That's what we want. So how do we do that? We have a website presence that is extremely, extremely powerful. How do we do that? We do that with H1, H2, H3. We do that with keywords. So if I'm talking about tankless or tankless hot water system or whatever it is, tankless water heater, guess what? I need to be talking about a tankless water heater all over that page. And I need to have even subcategories on tankless water heater. Why is tankless water heater better than water heater with a tank? Who is it better for? It's better for this type of setup or that type of setup. It's good here. It's good there. Here's where you can, here's where the pricing is. How do I figure out H1 and H2 and H3 without paying for any software? What a great question. Almost like I came up with it myself. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to come in here and we're going to say this: tankless water heater. You can't see it yet. Hang on. Here's how I'm going to find all the questions that people are going to ask about this. I'm going to type in tankless water heater. Oh, people also ask. These are all potential blog ideas. So now when I have a service page, these could be H2s, or I could have a service page, and in the service page, I can have hyperlinks that go to blog, and these are the blog topics. So I could either have one massive page, I could have one page where I'm just answering these briefly, or I can have a service page that links to these blogs. So when you see people and they're like, why do people pay for SEO every month? Because every month they're putting out blogs based off of these headers. They're seeing how they're performing, and they're basically making a plan based off of site strengths, keyword ranking, low hanging fruit in terms of keywords. And they're putting together blogs, pivoting the pages. They're looking at Google SEO rules and guidelines. And from there, they are essentially creating and pivoting the content. That's what they're doing. And if you need help, if you want to see a real example, this is going to be great for the blue collar guys. who is it? It's Rooter. Is it? Yeah, Roto-Rooter, the Rooter plumbing people. I'm going to show you their website. I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about. Now, remember, I'm just pulling this up, right? What's the first thing somebody notices? Fort Lauderdale. That's not exactly where I'm at, but that's very close to where I am. Fort Lauderdale. Phone number, right? The number, link. Here's what they do. Check this out. Reviews, membership affiliations. Now, if I come down here, this is actually a location page. They have the site map. They have a Canadian site. What I'll see is, let's see, services. They have services here. Usually when I go to services, you're going to see all their services connected. So let's go to maybe products. Here they go. So they have all their products linked. Look up here, all these different products, all these different how-tos. So this is probably a different even site. If I come to schedule service, look at this. Crazy. Locations is its own page. Look at this. Plumbing and drains. Let me click on drain cleaning. This is dynamic. So this is actually based off my location, but let's look at the actual content. Nowhere do you see a location here. Nowhere. FAQs. They have, what are these? Blogs linked to the services. Related blog articles. It's like crazy. I said that before I even pulled it up. Look at all these blog articles. So of course, when you type in plumbing near me, who's going to rank extremely well? Now let's look at locations. This is a location near, I guess that's the location that's near me. Usually what you'll see is let's go locations this way. Now, usually what I can do, I've seen them before where you can actually see all of their locations. And so right here, again, it's just taking me to a specific location page. Look at this. Here we go. Home, locations, Florida, Fort Lauderdale. What if I go to Florida? Every location. Let me go back. I want to go back to Fort Lauderdale. I want to see if they do the neighborhoods. Cities in Fort Lauderdale metro area. Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, Vero Beach. Those are the neighboring areas. Let me go back just to prove my point. This is where it gets crazy. Let me go. So it takes me back to locations. So yeah, I've seen it before. They must have updated where you would actually see every location they service, and it was nuts. I go Florida. I could change location. I could put in whatever zip code. Any city in Florida. Look at this. Look at all those cities. And look, if I click here, guess what's going to happen? It's going to pull up. I don't know why it's not working, but if there it goes. I'm going to pull that up. I'm not anywhere near there. And look, they have a location page for absolutely every location they service. So Roto-Rooter, however you pronounce it, they have a phenomenal job of a multi-location website. And then every different city is going to have its own GBP. So I bet you every one of those locations has its own Google business profile because it's local to that area. So Michael, I know there's a bunch. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send you this URL. This is one of my favorite URLs to study for a big company, but there's smaller companies who are doing the exact same thing very well. This is just like the top of the top, and really performing extremely well. Does that answer? I'm assuming to answer your question just based off of our conversation offline, but does that help at all, Michael?
Yeah, it does. I was just wondering, like, I understand like SEO is a long game and everything, but I don't know how to tell if I'm actually doing it right in the moment because I don't see results.
You're using, so number one, it's a long game. Number two, use Hike SEO and just let it track. Use Local Falcon, let it track the software we're talking about, and let it track. Honestly, you don't need to when you're starting out. If you are optimizing the GBP, if you are doing what I just showed you, and again, I know your client works on a much smaller space, but you can apply that to that client in that much smaller space. If you're doing that plus the GBP, you're locked in. And then every month you're saying, cool, we have the location pages, we have the service pages, we have the home page. Once a month, let's do a blog article. And for the blog article, there's a bunch of different tools. SEO tools can definitely get pricey quick, But when you're just starting out, all you need to do is the home page, the location page, the service page, the contact page, and that's it. Home, location, service, contact. Then those link to the products and the locations on Google Business. The name, address, phone number needs to all match. Just a quick recap. If your client does not have a business address in the area, you just type in virtual business address and you buy them one. It's $10 a month. And they all of a sudden start getting a bunch of leads because now you can physically put their business in a neighborhood versus saying, hey, we don't have an address. We just have a service area. It's way better to have an address because the proximity alone will pull in clients.
Oh, so I should get him a virtual business address because he
I-
said he didn't want his actual address to be on Google or anything.
Yeah, no. And I wouldn't want him to either. And I'm actually working with a client right now who has his address online and he wants to leave it that way. I'm like, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. You could do that. But if it's a, animosity thing, like you want to be, you don't want to have people like come into your house and like upset with you. You probably don't want to do that. But yeah, like I would do a virtual business, a virtual business address is going to be better than no address because it's
Mhm.
going to actually place them in the city.
Yeah. So how does that work exactly? Like, how is that? I
Yeah.
don't get that.
I'm going to show you right now.
Yeah.
I'm typing in virtual business address. What city is he in?
Waterloo,
Waterloo, Iowa or Ontario?
Ontario.
Let's see it again. There it goes. And so we're going to, let's go international, Canada. Let's see. I don't know any of these. I don't know anything I'm looking at. They may not have one on this site, but this is just one site of hundreds. But you see how basically I just put that in?
Yeah, because like I noticed his competitor listings, they all have like addresses on it, and they're just all listing way more, like way higher up.
Yeah. So and here's the thing with the Google business ranking, and this is going to piss a lot of people off. It's all about CTR. It's all about click-through rate. Everything else is a great factor to have. It's a helpful factor to have. But if the click-through rate is the highest, Google will reward them the most. And do you know why? Because if they are searching and the person clicks on it, Google's going to say, that must have been what they were looking for. So let's boost it on up. That's why I think, was it you that had reached out to me and someone had made a post and they're like, hey, I have a new business. Everybody click on the link. Was that you that had reached out to me about that?
I'm not sure.
It might have been John, but somebody had posted their business website and like, hey, everyone click on the link. It's going to help me with the CTR. Sure. Here's the problem. If everyone's clicked on the link just to click on the link, they're going to exit really quickly and your bounce rate is going to be disgusting. And
Yeah.
now instead of helping you, it's going to completely put you in the trash.
Mhm.
So it's all about CTR. And I have some cool training coming out on how you can boost CTR using like really cool. And I use all white hat. Yeah. So white hat is essentially ethical. It's all good stuff. Gray hat and black hat, that's where you start risking losing your account and getting banned. We want to do all white hat stuff. We don't want to do any shortcuts with SEO. So let me
Yeah.
grab Jacob's question and then Rebecca and Todd's question.
That was just more on for ourself, our personal. Should we also have a business number for our or address? Because I don't. I just have a area.
This is my personal advice. Unless you want to market people directly in the proximity of your location, I don't have a GBP. I
Okay.
use social strictly. I use a page. I use YouTube. I'm starting Instagram on September 10th. I'm going back onto TikTok again, September 10th. And Facebook right now is making me so much money that I'm not going to look anywhere else until my wife starts her school year and we move into our apartment. So I'm not going to be doing any of that until I have like more time to focus on it. And what we'll talk about on the next call is how to make enough content for a month in just an hour. And that's a really cool training.
Cool.
I'm super excited for you guys to have. It's actually the exact way that Tim closed that $2,000 client. I'm going to show you guys exactly what I showed Tim. But yeah, you don't, you don't need
Don't
to,
even know if. Oh, sorry.
no, I was just gonna say, you don't need a Google business profile. You can use
I already
one.
have one.
Yeah, you can use
And
it.
it's like it's getting traffic. Like I mean, like stuff I don't even, I'm like, okay, well, why wasn't I informed of all this? I just even got off the phone with like Yelp. I don't even know what happened there, but that's another conversation. But
You're a
where
lead.
I'm actually getting traction, I just need to know that they're there and get them, like where I'm like, okay, this isn't really communicating with me very well. But if once I learn how to, you know,
Yeah.
have that communication with the apps and everything and what I'm actually paying for, I think it'll work pretty good. I'll just keep it, but I'll keep it as my area. But I'm learning through you to like do more
Yeah.
social. I
What
mean,
you
even in that, my engagement has jumped like 600% because I've posted for a couple of days in a row. And it was like, oh, wow, that actually does do things. Like,
Yeah,
and it
and
was
what else is
just,
the Google Business Profile, number 1, you shouldn't be paying for at all unless you're paying for, like, upgrades, it should be free. Number 2, again, you can if you wanna get local clients who are very local to you, you can 100% do that. Me, and this is my bias, not preference, this is my bias. I want to make money from remote locations while wearing Crocs the entire time. That's my bias. That was the goal I set when I built a business. I said, how can I do this where I don't have to talk to a single person I don't want to talk to? I don't want to go out when I don't want to. I can do it from wherever I want, whether it's in the condo, whether it's on the beach, whether it's on vacation. That was the goal for me. So that's why I don't go to Google Business. If you want to be, and this doesn't mean you don't work with national clients. If you want to also work with local clients to you, do the Google Business, do the SEO, rank for marketing. You're going to be competing with people who are also marketers. So it's going to be a tough fight, but it's going to get you traffic. It's going to get you traffic. It's free. It's just going to take a little bit more time. It's going to be a little harder to work with those individuals. And if you're niching down, it's going to be kind of hard to say, hey, I work with lawn care guys. And every lawn care guy comes to you and they're like, well, you're working with me and him. How does that work? We serve the same area. So that's where it's like, understand what you're doing, understand who you want to work with. If it's all local business, yeah, go ahead and do GBP, right? If it's one area per location, the GBP is going to get you one client per industry, and then you burnt the GBP out. That's where my hesitation lies with Google Business Profile for you as a remote marketer.
okay.
Want to go local? Do it. If you don't, you can do it as like maybe put it at the bottom of your priority list.
Okay.
Then let me grab Todd and Rebecca's question.
I had a really quick question. So the iPostal one, that's where you would purchase the
I
virtual
would
address
what I
or like
what I
what?
would use, I would search virtual business address for the city. I would go through every listing and see which listing has the location I want. Because number one, I just showed how their client in Waterloo, Ontario wasn't there. So I'm going to go, cool, let me go to the next service and see that. Here's another thing, you can get nitpicky with it. You can say, cool, one postal or iPostal has it on this address, but maybe another service has it at an address that's more ideal where there's maybe a lower competition, maybe there's more clients, maybe there's this is the place to be in. And I'm looking right now, you've got Da Vinci virtual office space, you've got Anytime Mailbox, you've got Regus, you've got Match Office, Instant Offices. Um, Hey, here's one. You've got Waterloo Quay, which looks like a virtual office and PO box in Aberdeen. Is that near you, Michael, or near the
No,
client?
no, no.
I sent it
I
over.
just
Check it
I
out.
do. Yeah.
So all I'm doing is I'm typing in virtual business address and then the city and the location, and then from there, I'm just going to look at the listings and see which one is going to give me exactly what I want.
Okay, gotcha. Yep,
Does
that was
that?
it.
And that's big for plumbers and HVAC. That's going to be huge.
Yeah. I mean, we've run into that where it was like, his home address and we definitely didn't want to put that on the website. But
And,
well,
and
I
here's
didn't
here's
even know that you could buy a virtual
Oh
address.
yeah. And this is not the this is not where you incorporate the business. This is like the business address. Here's the creepy thing. If they at any point have used the home address as the business address, I can go online and I can find that very, very quickly because it's all public record.
Right.
So if you are looking and you can upsell the service, you can say, hey, it's 20 a month and you can keep the extra 10. Hey, for another $100 a month, that's up to you how you want to repackage that. If you want to repackage it at all.
Mhm.
So I'm not going to say upsell or don't, But all of this, if you're doing that service, if you're managing that for them, there's no reason why you can't say, hey, even, 15, $20 a month, you up to a little bit because you're going to be managing that for them. They have no idea what they're doing. And that's
Right.
okay. Guess what? When my lawn care guy comes, I don't stand outside and tap my foot and go, hey, you missed a spot, or hey, you need to edge. No, he's a professional. He does it. I pay him. Well, I don't, but I would pay him and he does it, right? I'm not, when the dentist is cleaning my teeth, I'm not looking in the reflection like, hey, you missed the spot. No, I'm like, do your thing. Like, you're the pro. So it's the same with you. If they want it to be a full done for you service, there's no reason why you can't incorporate that. And that can sweeten the spot. That can be a one-time upsell. That could be however you want to look at it. Jacob, did you have another question, or is that your hand up from the previous question?
That's my hand from previous question.
Okay, cool. Before we jump, I want to do the random coaching, which is going to be a spinner. So let me go ahead and pull up that list. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spin this 3 times. And on those 3 times, what's going to happen is it's going to be first, second, and third. So if first person is here and we work, yeah, I haven't done it yet. Don't worry. If we do the first person who's going to be the first person who can sign up. If that person doesn't sign up or take advantage, what we will do is we will spin 2 more times. So that way I have a list ready to go. So here's a list of everyone. Is there anybody here who maybe didn't put their name down? Let me see. I've got Naman, I've got Tony, I've got Rebecca, Todd, I've got Mateo, Michael, I've got Nadeem. Am I missing anybody? I've got Josh. Are you on this list? I've got Josh. Okay. All right. So I'm going to spin it 3 times. Whoever it lands on first will be if they're here, then it's going to be yours. So let's go ahead and spin. Let's see who it is. Oh, that was so close. All right. It's going to be Kevin. All right. If Kevin does not answer, let's see who's next. If Kevin does not answer, it's going to be. No way. Okay. It's going to go to John. And if John does not answer, it is going to be Mo. Man, that Nadeem, that thing has beef with you, man. That thing was like 2 feet on me for holding on. All right. So that is who the winner is. If you guys have any questions or anything, let me know. I'll post a group call most likely Monday, the next business day. I appreciate you guys coming out. Any other things that you need, feel free to reach out to me. And next week, the training that is going to be dropped is going to be on how to simplify. So it's going to be creating all of the SOPs and then understanding how we can then automate those in the following training. But yeah, that's it for this evening.